3, 2, 1, let's jam. Hello everyone, this is Bentley, and today we're going to do a little thing about something very important to me, and that is ANGFA and the Rainbow Conservation Fund. So, for those who aren't familiar, ANGFA is the Australia New Guinea Fishes Association, aka all the rainbow fish. And there's some other ones, like some of the gudgeons and some of the other fish that are native to those areas, but primarily this is the organization for rainbow fish nerds. And ANGFA's whole job, I guess, as a group, and they do this all sorts of cool publications. They do have email newsletters. They have a yearly membership that you can join in for. It's not very expensive, but one of the coolest things they do is they have what's called the Fishes of Sahul. And I'll put a little thing right, actually, this side. So when you trip yourself up when it's mirrored. Anyway, and this is just, you can get hard copies or digital versions, but basically it gives you all the things that ANGFA does for the local guys down in Australia, where they'll go out and wild collect fish. Because in Australia, it's been kind of a long tradition of going out and collecting native fish to keep as fish keepers. So really, the rainbow fish hobby is all because of mostly the Australians. And then slowly it's spread throughout the world as we see these just beautiful, beautiful fish that luckily Australia just gets to natively have. And of course, New Guinea gets a lot of the really crazy stuff when it comes to the bigger rainbows. But there's many cool ones like the Guinea River and one of my favorites, the Running River Rainbow, which was saved on behalf of the efforts of the Rainbow Fish Conservation Fund. So, just a reminder there. I told the story a while back, but the channel's grown so much since then, so I kind of want to retell the Running River Rainbow Fish story. Running River, which is in Australia, along its whole course, it's home to several different species of rainbow fish, but there's a particular area where the Running River rainbow fish, which technically it's an unnamed species, it's Melanotania species Running River, but commonly it's just known as the Running River rainbow fish because of this project. And scientists were doing studies, and they found that a bunch of the fish were starting to hybridize. And someone had introduced, while it is still an Australian rainbow fish, it was not that specific Running River rainbow fish, into that area. So some person probably had some rainbow fish and went, oh, I'll just go put them back in the river. Well, this is one of the cases where rainbow fish started hybridizing in the wild. Normally, this only occurs in our personal aquariums. But if a fish has been kept with a bunch of other rainbow fish that has spawned in captivity with them, if they get put into the wild, they're going to repeat that same behavior. So this massive effort was put together in order to collect, I think they collected something like 80 groups of Running River rainbow fish. No, it wasn't even that much. It was way less. Sorry. And this group of scientists with the University of Canberra, who is funded by the Rainbow Fish Conservation Fund, then took all of these pairs, started breeding the fish out, and they got to where they had a captive population of about 2,000 fish. And what they had to do was teach these fish their natural instincts to know what certain fish that they're going to go into are predators and how to stay away, what to know. So there's this interesting thing with rainbow fish. When a rainbow fish dies, it releases this pheromone into the water that tells all other rainbow fish, because they're schoolers, something really bad has happened. Run, hide, be on alert. Something's not right here. So the scientists had to take a few of the fish they had raised and euthanize them in order to produce this chemical, which they called rainbow fish essence, and then use that as a training simulator, if you will. So what they would do is they have all the rainbow fish in these big tanks, and then they would, in a captive, like similar to a breeding box, but larger, they'd take a spangled perch, because the spangled perch is the primary predator in the Running River that would feast on rainbow fish. And they'd drop that into the water, and then they put a little bit of rainbowfish essence into the water, which is this. They distilled it down to this concentrated formula, so they just put a little bit in the water, and all of a sudden all the rainbowfish get that pheromone and realize, oh, something's wrong. What's changed? That perch over there, that fish, that's bad news. Stay away from that. And they did this with several other predators, but the big one was the spangled perch, because they found a new location that they were going to move them to behind a waterfall, basically, that would keep the running river rainbow protected from any spillover from that now tainted population. So they do this project for a while, and I want to put this out there. The Rainbowfish Conservation Fund does not run on a lot of money. These scientists saved this fish from going extinct on $11,000 of privately generated funds. Now, some of that is also funded by the University of Canberra. They're amazing. That's where Peter Unmack works, and if you're familiar with rainbowfish, Peter Unmack is a big name. Now, if you're not, let me explain. Peter Unmack is the guy who writes all of the scientific descriptions, or at least publishes most of them, for rainbowfish. Now, some of them have been written by other folks. I think Gary Lang is actually writing one right now, if I remember right. But, you know, like Heiko Blaher has done them, Jerry Allen has done them. You know, these are the kind of the titans of rainbowfish, and fish keeping in general in the case of maybe Heiko Blaher. But Peter Unmack does a vast majority of them, and he knows all the heuristics and how to look at like the fin rays and things like that to tell you, oh, well, this trifasciata is based on this, is from this river, not this river, even though they look almost exactly the same, or the DNA is exactly the same. It's pretty crazy. So these fish were saved for almost no money. And luckily, the Greater Seattle Aquarium Society... Sorry, I forgot to silence my phone while I'm recording this. It's terrible, right? Anyway, the Greater Seattle Aquarium Society... Turn that off, I'm sorry. Had donated to this fund in the past. I think we've donated a couple times now. And that's how the Running River Rainbowfish got auctioned at our meeting when Gary Lang came last. Because we donated a fairly large chunk of that $11,000, we got to be the first ones to have the Running River Rainbowfish in an auction. Now, some had been distributed in other places, and more have since, which is fantastic. It's one of the fish that's on my highest priority once they get a little bit bigger to breed, because they're nearly extinct. The likeliness of us getting wild-caught fish again is nil. So one thing I want to put out there, that after all these things, right, we're talking about this is a tiny fish. They only get like this big, right? They're a smaller rainbow. They're what we would consider a dwarf species, a lot like the dwarf neon rainbows, the praecox, or to some extent the Kamaka rainbows stay smaller, but they get a bit bigger than them. One of the other ones that was saved by the same project is the Malonda, which Dean has been raising up. And there's others, but these are some of the smallest and coolest rainbow fish out there. Like here, we'll give you a picture right here. Here's adult Running River rainbow fish. How can you not like that? I mean, got this cool black striping in the back, the reds, the fins. They've got that kind of the natural Australian fin shape, which I find really striking, because when they spread those out for those displays, they look amazing. I can't wait for my guys to get full color, because it's going to be just so exciting to know that I've raised these fish from eggs, and I've got an opportunity to have a fish that should have gone extinct, if not for, it's like 5 people. I mean, this is a tiny team on almost no money. And after they did all this work, they took 2,000 fish to the wild. Now, if this was a trout, we would take 200,000 to the wild. And maybe if we were lucky, 2,000 would survive. This is what the rates are in the United States, typically, for farm-raised fish being put into the wild. 1%. Sometimes it's worse with some of the salmon. 2,000 fish went into the wild. A year later, they had a living population of basically 2,000 fish, which means that despite the fact that, they're still kind of learning this new wild environment and some predators got them, they were breeding up enough that they kept their numbers. And since then, I think the last survey they did, they actually exceeded that and gone somewhere closer to like 3,000 or 4,000 of the fish in the wild now. All because of ANGFA and the Rainbowfish Conservation Fund. We don't often look at conservation in fish keeping, and I know the second I say conservation, a bunch of people are going to be like, yep, I'm out. But it's so important to our hobby because there's so many fish we haven't discovered. And can you imagine, like, the running river rainbow, had it not been for these scientists, we wouldn't be able to have these in this hobby. This beautiful little fish that stays small so you can keep it in a smaller tank. You could keep running rivers in a 20 long. You could probably keep like 15 of them in a 20 long if you have a decent filter and do good water changes. Most rainbows you can't keep in a 20 long. They get too big. Goiter rivers get like 5 inches. You can't keep that in a 20 long. You got to have at least a 40 breeder, and you probably need a 75 or a 125 or something just big and massive, right? But here's this fish that we can keep in a much smaller tank that's still got all that beautiful color, all that beautiful behavior, all because of a small team of scientists funded by people like you and me. People that realize that protecting these fish is incredibly important, and that protecting the wild ecosystems they live in is even more important. It's not often that we talk about conservation in our hobby. The most we would talk about the amazing work that Project Piaba has done. And there will be a few crazies like me who will tell you about ANGFA and the Rainbowfish Conservation Fund and how important they are. And I cannot stress this enough. They are critically important. They saved an entire species of fish from being extinct on $11,000. That's nothing. It's nothing compared to most of the conservation funds that are out there where they need millions. And the best they can do is maintain a population, not save it. Not bring it back and give it a chance to thrive. I know this is a little different than what we usually like, but it plays so important to my heart. Because I love rainbow fish. I think I will probably love them until the day I'm dead. But some of them we've already lost. The Centenniensis, which is this gorgeous red rainbow, is completely extinct in the wild. The only reason it's still around is because hobbyists like you and me have kept this fish, bred this fish, and spread them around. The Guinea is nearly extinct. They had to reintroduce it and fix problems in the lake because tilapia had got introduced and they were killing them all. They brought a food source fish there that is not native, and it destroyed nearly every one of the most beautiful green fish that exists. The emerald rainbow, the Guinea. I'm lucky to have a few, and they're gorgeous. And I look at them every day and I go, soon I'm going to breed you too. Because you know what? We can't lose that fish. It's too freaking cool. So that's it, guys. This is going to be probably the one time in a while where I really talk conservation. Other than my chat with Randy Reed, which I really appreciated. This was kind of my answer to Randy Reed's challenge, which is talking about conservation. I really haven't seen anyone else doing it, and it's so important to our hobby because without conservation, our hobby goes away. Without those fish in the wild, we'll go down to only line bred, sure, the colorful discus that have been slowly line bred for their color and patterns like pigeon bloods and stuff like that. They're gorgeous. But watch a wild discus and tell me that fish is not incredible. Rainbow fish, when you hybridize them, they lose all their color, they lose all their beauty. Slowly over time, the genetics can go bad. You get places that raise them in giant ponds, and a flood happens, and now all the rainbow fish mix, and now you don't even have the right rainbow fish anymore. It's some mutt, but it's mostly that one, so we'll sell it as that one. But the few hobbyists who have the opportunity to get wild-caught rainbow fish, in which I am very fortunate in that I own true wild-caught rainbow fish. If it was not for some of these conservation groups, we might never see some of these fish ever again. If it wasn't for us hobbyists, they certainly would be gone from this planet. I'm not going to talk about the politics of this, simply that if we love our hobby, it is organizations like ANGFA, the Rainbowfish Conservation Fund, Project Piaba, I think it's the Stewart Project. I mean, there's a ton of great ones out there. Pick a fish you love, and I guarantee you there is a very important charity or conservation fund that is a part of that fish and those hobbyists who care so much about them that they are willing to do the hardest work out there to protect them in the wild. I hope sincerely that many of you feel like I do and feel that there is something to be done. I am an ANGFA member. I get the Fishes of Sahul. I'm waiting for my hard copy of the new one. It was announced January, and it's got to get printed and shipped from Australia. It'll be the first one I get because I missed the window on the last one. But I've seen them because a local club member has all of them. And they're so cool because the photography is so good. The pictures, there's explanations of this trip where they describe the wild environments and how they went out and collected them and all this stuff that if I was in Australia, I would be doing my dangest to do. I would want to be out there so bad just because it sounds like so much fun. But I get the opportunity to meet wonderful people like Gary Lang, Lucas Bretz. There's a lot of other unsung heroes who are just these fantastic rainbow fish keepers that are not as public, and I won't put their names out there. The only one who is, that I will also mention, is Mark Nicholson. He has a YouTube channel. You should check him out if you're a big rainbow nerd. He doesn't do any voiceovers, none of that, but he takes footage of some of the most gorgeous rainbows that he keeps, maintains, and breeds, and he's one of the best. But like I said, he's an unsung hero. Very few people, unless you're a super rainbow nerd, know who Mark is. But if you're a super rainbow nerd and you have rainbows from him, you definitely know who Mark is because you want more from him because his fish are that great and he takes phenomenal care of them. That's it, everybody. That's my spiel for today. If you like this, leave a comment down below. What I really want to know is if there was a fish, let's say a rainbow fish that was on their verge of extinction, and the Rainbowfish Conservation Fund said, this is the fish we're going to go protect next. Which fish would make you go, you know what? I'll donate $10. Because on 11,000, they've saved one already. So it doesn't take very much. Which one would make you do that? For me, the Running River Rainbow, worth every penny. Part of my club and my work throughout the club is what fueled that donation that we did. But if I were to pick one, personally, the Pasco River rainbow fish. That's right. There's a Pasco River, and it has a Trifasciata species in it. So I'll give you a guess at one of the things that is now on my bucket list to own. Pasco River rainbow fish. That'll be the day, right? As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you get a chance, check out ANGFA and the Running River Rainbow Fish, and more importantly, the Rainbowfish Conservation Fund. And as always, stay awesome.